Guys, and thanks to Trudy. So Trudy and I have had an opportunity to sort of be like coaches to each other over the past few months. So that's been super awesome. Got to know her, and Brian and I started the Peak Fleet about 9 months ago. I think we decided was when we officially kicked off. And so today we just wanted to do an exercise with you guys on discovering your core values. So a little bit about that. See if I can get it to move forward. Now it doesn't want to move. Let's try that again. Page 2. Okay. So I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you know your core values personally, but understanding your core values is sort of a really key thing to help you make conscious decisions about, you know, anything that you're doing in your life, but certainly to kind of figure out what's important to you, where you want to take your career, you know, how you have personal relationships, all that kind of stuff. And if you're in a group, whether it's a family or friends or, you know, a team at work, understanding each other's values certainly creates conversations. It offers something that's is really valuable to us, which is an opportunity to have more empathy for people and to have like improved interactions. So, and then finally, when you have a group together and you can actually use an activity to come up with what your shared values are, that's, you know, going to create a lot of alignment for you when you're developing corporate goals, things like that. So, you know, our personal journey, our story is that when we decided to go into business together, we came up with a big list, brainstorm of like, what were our values? Because we were like, how do we define ourselves? How do we differentiate ourselves? What matters to us? How are we going to conduct business? You know, what is going to be our compass for decisions that we make and what kind of clients we get, all that kind of stuff. So we did a brainstorming session and came up with a bunch of values, and we ended up landing together as a team on persistence, empathy, authenticity, and kindness, which conveniently spell word peak, so that was sort of our origin story of the name. But, you know, we have our own individual values as well, and have found that an exercise like doing a core values exercise is really valuable to sort of see where you're at and evaluate, are you really, you know, making decisions and directing your life and directing your career and your company, in case of being an entrepreneur, in the direction of your core values and staying true to that. So how many of you guys think you know what your core values are? She's cheating because she's done it before.
But
okay.
I was surprised.
Yeah, so, okay, cool. So,
I had one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
When we do it as a team, the act of sharing your core values, do you want to do this too?
Yeah.
The act of sharing your core values with others is an act of vulnerability, and it's vulnerability that leads to trust. Trust is what allows teams to really thrive together.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll talk as we go through this. So for anybody that's watching online, you'll kind of see us demonstrating this activity. And then as Brian's helping demonstrate the activity, I'll talk through a little bit on, in addition to the sort of like what we're kind of the basic top values activity, what other kinds of ways that you can use like a deck of cards like this to foster vulnerability, to have, you know, deeper discussions about, you know, trust and you know, just sharing and all that. So
for those who are going to participate, open up the box, take all the cards out. You're going to discard 4 for this exercise. There's 2 cards with instructions on it, and then there's 2 blanks. The blanks are for the scenario, as you go through the 55 values, if there's something that is missing for you, there for you to write on. Don't do that today because I want these back. If you want your own deck, you can write whatever you want on them. So discard those 4 cards, and we're going to get down to 6, except it's kind of hard to go straight to 6, so we're going to take baby steps. The first thing you're going to do is, without a lot of thought, go through the deck and create an A pile and a B pile. And all 55 of these things are good, important things. But we're going to get to the 6 most important, because if they're all most important to you, then none of them are important. So A and B, B is the important, but not really like I'm feeling it like this is core. A are the stronger ones. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to push the B pile aside and go back to the A pile. So go through, again, don't give it a lot of thought, don't overthink it. Create approximately half A and B.
Are they specific to like your business or?
That is a great question. Every time I've ever done this, I get the question, is this me here at work or is this me at home? We design these cards that we want you to bring your authentic self to work, so it's you, but we also want you to be able to bring these things into the workplace.
So how many go into the most important pile?
Right now we're going to do A and B, approximately half, so about 26, 27 each, but I'm not going to audit you.
Discard about as many as you keep.
Yes.
And so for anyone playing along online or just observing right now, so there's lots of, I had a slide up there a minute ago, there's lots of different ways. Obviously you can do this individually, you can do it with a family, with a group of friends, or with varying sizes of teams. And what we're doing right now is sort of just a basic, identification of your personal core values. But there's lots of different ways that you can also use something like this to get new insights. As an individual, one of the things that I was contemplating is almost like you pull out a card out of the deck every day and sort of meditate on and think about, like, what does that value mean to you? How is it expressed in your life? And is that something that is important for you to exercise in your behaviors every day? In a partnership, one of the things that Brian did recently with a friend was she went through the deck of cards and she pulled out and identified the top values that she thought Brian had. And then he compared that to what he knew he had done when he did it, and it was an interesting discussion about, are these really my values? Are these what you perceive in me as a strength? And so that's like a really interesting conversation to have, I think, because you can see maybe where you're misaligned, whether that's your life partner or co-founders as we are or whatever. That's a really good exercise as well.
I think it gives you visibility that I wasn't expecting it at all. It gave me visibility to strengths I probably take for granted.
Right.
So yeah, didn't plan on that. Most of our exercises are based around us sharing what we think about ourselves. So it's great to see someone turn it around on us.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. So again, we're A and B. We're going to get down to 6, so don't think about it too much.
Don't agonize about the first round quite so much.
And there's no right or wrong answer. You can always go back and redo it in the future. For those who are done, we'll move forward and I'll come back and check on you. Take the B pile, push it aside, push it over to your discard pile, and then take your A pile, and we're going to do it again. And again, go through, try to go for half and half, A and B. And this time we're going to get down to somewhere between 15 and 16 cards each. And in the next round, we're going to lay them out so you can see them all, because what may be happening is there's a cluster of values that are very similar, and you're going to realize that it's one of the cluster that's really striking a nerve with you. So again, another A and B, 50-50, somewhere around 13, 14 each.
So another activity then, once you have a team that's done, this individually, obviously the next part of that exercise in a team would be to share with each other what are your values, and discuss whether there's perception differences, whether there's similarities. You can even capture a log of what are everybody's top 6 values, and see are there a lot of gaps? Are there places where there's maybe a lot of conflict, perceived conflict in types of values? So that's a really good activity to do. And then the next step to that would be to see whether or not as a team you actually have common shared values. And examining, let's say you're trying to achieve a goal, a project, you're trying to launch a product or something like that. What are the goals and objectives of that launch, and how do these values help shape what that is, and use that as your sort of beacon for your team.
All right, for those who are ready for the next step, so go ahead and take your A pile, do it again. So push your B pile to the side. For those who are down now to somewhere around 15, go ahead, spread them out in front of you and look at them. And we're now going to narrow it down to your top 6.
You guys can kind of see here the final goal of where we're trying to aim toward is a little peak with your 6 values in it.
So at this point, again, you're probably 15 plus or minus. And I think what often I notice is that there are a cluster of values that you've zeroed in on. So use whatever process you want. We're going to get to 6, but you might look and see if there is a group and see if it's one word in particular that's really is core to you, and then the others maybe can go away because it's represented by the one. Another approach to get you to the 6, if you look at it now and there's 1 or 2 like deal breakers, pull them out now and put those aside as part of your core, and then see how many seats you have left on the lifeboat, if you will. But just like in the prior kind of phases of this, don't overthink it too much. The analogy I used with Trudy a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if it's a great one or not, is there's a lifeboat. You're on the Titanic, it's going down. There's 6 seats on the lifeboat. We need to fill those up as soon as we can with the core 6. But if you take too long, the boat goes down and you won't fill up the seats.
Maybe I should do that.
Okay.
Go ahead, 'cause we'll have
You're ready.
you talk about cores. So Brian, when you've done this, because you've done this multiple times, did you get the same thing over and over again, or did you have some swap outs that happened?
I've had some swap outs. I also, the first time I did it after we started Peak Fleet, there was this bias towards I had to include persistence,
PEAK. Right.
And as humans, we all have both conscious bias and unconscious bias. So I had to kind of check that and say, well, what are the 6 that are most important to me?
Yeah.
And there were a few changes for me.
Yeah, because so that picture that's taken was actually when I did it. So, as I'm watching people do it, and I go, are those really all my top 6, or actually your suggestion around sort of clumping things that were similar? I think like creativity and beauty, for example, I probably could have picked one and saved some space for something else that was a bit different.
So we are good. We're going to, what's your name?
Chris.
Chris, I'm guessing you've either done this before, or you have a lot of clarity about your core values, or decisiveness is a strength or a core value, because you were you were good at making those decisions.
I've been part of John Maxwell's team for a long time, if you're familiar.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
John has a set of cards, yeah.
yes.
So yeah, the final step is to take your 6 and put them in a pyramid of a 3, 2, 1. And there is no right or wrong way. I will be curious if you're willing to share why you structured them the way you did. I've had people say the bottom row is about me, the middle row is about my family, and the top row is about society. Other people say the one at the top is the most important. Others say the one at the middle bottom is the cornerstone, and that's the most important. I would love to hear your logic. So your core 6, your core 6, your core 6. So go ahead and put them in a 3, 2, 1 pyramid or peak. Again, any way that just feels natural to you. As you're doing that, Trudy, do you want to go first and share what your 6 are and why you structured them the way you did?
Sure. I had a little trouble with like figuring out the courage and persistence, like which one, but because the way I think of this is how like I relate to myself, and then how I relate to others,
Okay.
and then like what's really important for me, like in the whole. So I think in the whole, it's like really important for me and others to have integrity.
Integrity is at the top, because that's
Yeah.
what you feel is most important.
Yeah. So like, I need to see that in myself, and I need to see that in others.
Okay.
And then purely for like myself, I have to have purpose. And that's why I was like back and forth with the persistence and the courage. And like, I want to change them back now. So courage and purpose are like basically how I purely have to relate to myself.
Okay.
But I want to be empathetic, persistent, and authentic as I go out into the world. And I guess that I hope that other people will be that way, but that's not really my main concern. Like, my main concern is that I'm true to myself when I go out and
Take
about.
that out.
Now, did you say going through this exercise gave you, so there was a surprise or some insight to you?
Yeah, the surprise was like, I'm all about wellness, and so like, and the balance, balancing things out in life. And I kept thinking that would come into here, but when I went through the exercise of like kind of grouping things and how they could fall like under an umbrella, the wellness part came under integrity.
Okay.
And maybe purpose
and
too, right? Like,
well, in the sense of wellness coaching, yeah, that kind of fell under purpose, but wellness for myself anyway, like came under integrity, or my hope for people to be well is part of their integrity, right?
That
Because
makes
it's
sense.
a part of the whole person.
Very good. Anybody else want to share values or pyramid? Like the gentleman who, or do you want to?
I'll go through mine, and as I started looking at this and just kind of as we kind of age in life, wellness has become a big pillar for me, and really is kind of the pinnacle of things, because wellness comes in different forms. It's just not health in your body. It's just having wellness in every area of your life, your financial, so for me it's a big core thing to and then just kind of following through on just having confidence in life, and confidence in your work, confidence in who you are, and integrity kind of goes lock in hand with that. Being able to be true to yourself and to others as you face outward, and as we look at wisdom and the things that we've kind of gathered through life, and it's very foundational for me as far as gathering that. Then trust is a very important aspect. 6 years ago, I took on a partner, in my business, and I've always been a solopreneur, and so that became big, and just being authentic, and being authentic with your partner, because it's almost you know, an area where they have to know. And so I kind of laid it out in that sense.
Okay. Good. Now, question for you: you've done this before, but I'm guessing not with visuals. Did the visuals change the outcome at all for you?
You know, I think so too. The visuals are important. You know, even though, you know, when I look at wellness is a little bit different.
Yeah.
I take a holistic approach to wellness, and then, you know, the images do amplify, you know, some of the values that we have, and to be quite honest with you, it has shifted a little bit, and you know, I think that as you evolve as an individual, and life circumstances, you know, allow things to also evolve, and your values, you know, kind of are centered around those things that are essential, you know, for your overall wellness. So.
Can I tease you a little bit?
Shoot, go ahead.
When we were setting up, you were like, why would you need to know your core values? But you participated.
Did.
Yay!
So tell us your values. Tell us about, like, were you surprised at all?
Not really.
No?
I mean, they're all good. I could just be like, okay, those look good.
Right.
I'm a good person now. When I went with empathy first, I feel like you can learn the most by just putting yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to experience everything if you can kind of just feel what they're doing.
That's true.
And that goes with compassion too, because I think you can have empathy without compassion, but if you tie them together, then you're golden.
Sympathy, empathy, compassion get mixed, and they are unique. But I'm with you.
Collaboration again. You know, we all together, we're better than one. Again, just learning, being open to the ideas. Not creativity, just because I think most people probably here are pretty creative. Practicality, you know, great ideas can be great, but if they're not practical, they're kind of useless. Same with go with purpose. We could probably tie into that real well. I could have shuffled these, maybe, you know, taking one out, going back in. That's just kind of how I do my work, really.
Yeah.
Instead of a personal thing, I don't know. It's all one now.
Well, I think you and I share a lot of core values. It's interesting. Anybody else want to share? Yeah?
So I don't know about the pyramid as far as the order, but so the one I put at the top was authenticity. So which way you look at the pyramid, I think whether that's kind of root or the most valuable for the top. For me, I tend to view authenticity. And there were a few other words that I probably could have substituted there. Like I was looking at different things and I was like, so like vulnerability, you talked earlier about vulnerability. That's really important to me. I think whether you're like I work with entrepreneurs, a big part of entrepreneurship is that vulnerability of I'm going to go create this thing and someone may not buy it or
Put yourself out there.
You know, and so just everything I do, I think that kind of authenticity and appreciate both for myself. That's a really important thing. Or some other people mentioned integrity, and I tend to view them as similar. If you're being authentic, hopefully you're coming from a place of integrity. But also that's a value I deeply appreciate in others too. It's that authenticity or that willingness to be vulnerable of who they are. And then the next two I had were adventure and resourcefulness. Those are just, that just seems to be what I seek in life. Like I want adventure, and I try and find ways to be more resourceful and surround myself with people who have those values as well. And the last three are really just kind of like, if I could describe like how I want to, like things to feel, or like the environment I want to be in. So kind of what I bring and what I hope others bring. And so generosity, fun, and empathy.
I like it. Did anybody pick a final six value based on that when it's missing really upsets you? So you talked about one of your values, you really value it in others, which I'm interpreting as when you see someone who doesn't have integrity, like it really bothers you. Did anybody pick their core values based on when the absence causes angst?
I actually, the last one I added was generosity, and I had resilience and resourcefulness, and finally I was like, they're kind of similar, and so I chose the one I appreciated the most. I don't know, I appreciate them both. I'd like them to be one. But I had to get rid of one to add in generosity. And and that was a thing for me of like, it's really important to me, but it's also like when I'm around others, I want to be around others who are generous.
Okay.
So,
All right. There's two more. Do you want to share?
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
At the top I had creativity,
Okay.
growth and independence, responsibility, practicality, and family. They're kind of mirrored where both career and personal life's kind of been going.
That's good.
A couple years I've been doing a lot of freelance kind of stuff inside of a corporation where I got to go work wherever I kind of wanted to. Because that gave me a lot of the growth and the independent side of it. And being a software developer and professional speaker, creativity is always kind of there. But kind of have to have that in that profession.
So you said you looked at it through both lenses of personal and work?
Yeah, so like the bottom rows, all like things that if they weren't there both professionally and personally, and when I don't see them in other people, like responsibility, practicality, and family, like all those things that go across everything. And the top piece is more like work related, just me in general.
Okay.
You have to have family and work with other people. It can't just be you off in the forest unless that's where you're going to live.
I think that's good. To zero in on some core values that you feel work in both places and both personas. There's research that says about half of workers in the U.S. don't feel comfortable bringing their authentic selves to work, which makes me really sad. We promote the idea of creating a place where everybody can be authentic. So I think it's great to hear you say that they work for both. Did anybody look at your values and go, this is more me, and I don't know if I would bring this to work? Or did they work for both?
I think the integrity part, which is what I had at the top, and that was the one thing that if I don't see it in other people, like it hurts me. And so at a recent job, when I felt like certain people didn't have integrity, and they would like say one thing in one context, and then like their behavior and their words showed otherwise in a different context, it just really, really bothered me because I felt like they were not people of integrity. And as much as I brought courage to the table, and I brought a purpose to the table, and I brought empathy with the customers that I was supporting, and I brought persistence with the craziness, right. And I brought my authentic self to the table. Right.
That feeling you described, that you said it hurt me, yeah. That's a tell. And what I would say is that's a sign that is really, really, that's a non-negotiable, that's a deal breaker. And the next time you're in a new environment where you're sensing something's off, trust your instincts. So if what you're sensing is that, and you're feeling is that hurt feeling because something's missing, sometimes we make excuses, or sometimes we say, well, it'll be okay. Trust your instincts, and when your spidey senses say that that's missing, listen.
And that's interesting because like it actually came around to me in a very negative way later when I first like realized that these people were not people of integrity and I should get out. Yeah. I did not heed my own gut feeling.
It will never get better. It'll never. So trust your instincts on that.
Well, and I think as you go through your journeys, then you can use this proactively in your decision making and in a really conscious way, yeah. Right? So, if you kind of revisit this and think about, do these things still apply? Then when you're taking on a new client or you're looking for a new job or whatever, you can use these as a compass and use some of these words as triggers to look at, descriptions of jobs. Or, we have a client right now where our core values line up really, really well with that client, and we kind of sensed it, but then as we dug deeper, it was like, yeah, like we have a thing about community and wanting to give back that's really fundamental. And so that was a really good reassurance that like we're in partnership with a really good team. So
just one more person who did the exercise. Do you want to share?
Yeah, I guess I can share it. Honestly, I've ended up being rushed through a lot of it, so but you did say to move quickly, so yes. I haven't really thought a lot of these choices through. But if I try to look at this thing, it seems to that the whole thing when I was going through the cards all ended up really in 2 buckets. One of them how do I relate to working on stuff, how do I accomplish things, and the other one being how do you relate to people. So the final 6 ended up being put into 2 groups of 3. The bottom ones being resourcefulness, practicality, and commitment. Essentially the concept of if you say you're going to do something, do it and make it work, and it doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to get the job done. The other 3, fairness, humility, and openness, with fairness being on the top because that seems like the most important out of the 3, being all going into the general concept of you're not perfect, you're not going to be perfect, and no one else is going to be. And of course, fairness being the top one. Nobody wants to be in an unfair workplace or anything like that. So many other things like inclusiveness seem to fall under that banner anyway. Which that one had been in there for a while, but I ended up throwing it out because I think between the 2 of them and the one seems broader than the other 2.
Good. Thank you. All right. Any questions or any last thoughts before we call it a wrap?
So I have a question about, like, I tried this out with Chris, who is not here today, but just relating to him, and I don't remember what his top 6 were now, but I just remember at that moment, you know, like I just kind of had this flash of, oh, you know, like maybe some of the reasons like why he and I get along so well, but then also I think I had
some differences.
Well, it wasn't really differences, but it was just a kind of a surprise that like one of the things that he had chosen, he actually like said that he would not have chosen, like he would have chosen that something else in its place 10 years ago. And so he was talking about like a lot about the reasons that he chose a couple of the cards and about how several of them would have been different 10 years ago, and like he was being really insightful about his, you know, growth. And so that was just really an interesting exercise. So I thought that, you know, that was helpful on a personal level with him. But like in terms of so like for me, in wellness coaching, one of the things that I want to try to do is make sure that I identify clients properly so that I'm a good fit for them and they're a good fit for me. And so like I feel like I could use this.
Totally.
So like what would be like your 30-second advice on how to just start doing that? Because I know it could probably be something really involved and I could get lots of training on it, or use your exercises that you have on the website, which I'm sorry I haven't checked them out yet, but I will. But just like a quick and dirty, like
30 seconds on how to do this?
For me to use it as in the way of helping me to identify like if I'm a good fit for a client and them for me.
I think you already know. I actually heard the answer in what you said earlier, is that, and I'll play back to what I heard, was you and Chris, when you did this, you noticed you had commonalities, and that explained why you work well together. It is just as valuable to find out the differences. So that clarity, so it's not knowledge that's power, it's clarity that's power. So having the clarity of where you have commonality and where you have differences allows you to adjust accordingly. So I think just knowing where they're at versus where you're at allows you to adjust for them.
And I think logistically too, you know, I know we've talked about that you've have like an initial consultation with somebody. You could use this in like an initial consultation setting to say, you know, this is one of the things that helps me guide you on how to be most successful, right? Because if you understand what is inherently someone's core values, you're going to be able to provide motivations that align to some of the values, right? You know, some people are really reward driven, right? So if that's something that you can uncover through this, then you could say, oh, that's going to help me figure out what motivators will guide you down a wellness path.
Versus adventure, maybe you would use a little different approach to motivate what you're you're trying to get them to do. There's another value in there that we share personally around frugality, and so frugality could be another one. If you know that's really important to them, is play that card, literally or metaphorically. That, like, well, having increased wellness is you're going to save on this and this and this. So there's knowing what is most important, what's going to trigger them, and then playing to it.
Yeah, and then I think then you can use it as a screening tool, right, in that consultation to say, hey, you know, you might be better served going down this path versus, you know, I don't know if I can help you as well, or whatever, just being honest about that. So, yeah, okay. But I think it's a great idea.
Other questions?
So just, you know, quick info about us and where to find more information if you're interested is at peakfleet.com. We love engaging on social media, just talking about, we do like a lot of discussions about empathy and authenticity and kindness and things like that, because for us, that's something that we want to bring more of that into the world. We don't think there's enough of that. And so, you know, any ideas, we love hearing about that or experiences you have, and we encourage everybody to do random acts of empathy and kindness out there every day. So thanks for participating.
Thank you for joining us and participating with Jen and Brian. I hope you got something of value out of this. I figured that I would learn more, and I look forward to learning more about this, and I hope it was valuable to you today as gangplankers or as solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, team members. Couple of announcements. We have a community meeting at 5. We have Guilt-Free Book Club at 6. So you probably haven't read our book. I don't even know what the book is. What's the book, Anne?
Debt, the first 5,000 years.
Debt, the first 5,000 years. You don't have to read the book in order to come. Just be interested in the topic, and you can probably find some links related to the topic or the author on the Gangplank Facebook page in the post about that. And then there's Hack Night tonight, so join us for that. What else am I missing? Friday, we have Clean Out Friday.
Yeah.
So you want to
So
speak about that?
the open space, like drop-in area, and the conference rooms won't be available for work from 1 to 5. So don't plan to work here from 1 to 5. Go to a coffee shop or something like that. And then if you want to help with cleaning, we're going to do some cleaning and organizing.
And we expect to be done Friday with the cleaning, or it might fall into Saturday.
There was talk of it following a Saturday.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, so come contribute to the community, and we'll have a cleaning party. Anything else? You guys remember anything else going on? Do we have an event this weekend? I don't think we do. Okay, so thank you again, and have a great afternoon.